Hello and welcome to another episode of A Brief History. Today's episode, TimTom. Ready, set, go. Boise, Idaho, 2008. Teenage nerd Timothy Thomas makes a few new friends in his 8th grade class. One of them, named Jeremy, was interested in making videos for this growing website called YouTube and wanted his friends to make videos with him. Now, even as a kid, Tim was no stranger to online video, having spent years watching videos on websites like albinoblacksheep.com. So when it came to making videos for YouTube, Tim was all for it, joining up with Jeremy and their friends to make videos for Jeremy's channel, Rockin' the Head. And this was 2008, so obviously Tim and his friends were making what else but sketch comedy. Sketch comedy used to rule YouTube back in the day, and everyone was doing it, even Jake and Logan Paul.
Ooh, what's in that forest, Logan?
No! But sketch comedy wasn't Tim's only interest all those years ago. Much like everyone else in 2008, Tim was a huge fan of Halo. And apparently, Tim and his friends also ran some kind of Halo gaming channel back in the day, marking TimTom channel number 2. Trust me, you'll want to keep track of this stuff. There's a lot. But unfortunately, this channel had very little content and was ultimately short-lived. There's really not much more to say about it, so for now, let's jump forward a couple of years to March 25th, 2011 with the launch of TimTom channel number 3, TimTom is Awesome. You happy, Tim? You got a freaking soundbite of me saying that. TimTom is awesome. Oh, pfft. Around this time, Tim was in his junior year of high school and was still interested in pursuing comedy. So the TimTom is Awesome channel was primarily his outlet for that. Now, when I say comedy, I don't really mean sketch comedy like before. Oh no. At this point, Tim wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And the first video on the TimTom is Awesome channel was actually a clip of one of Tim's real high school stand-up sets. I'm not making this up. He's on stage telling jokes and wearing a freaking black felt fedora. Black felt fedora. Like, who even wears a fedora unironically? But here's where things get a little more complicated. You see, while Tim was spending his time making videos and practicing stand-up, he was still a huge fan of gaming. And what Tim really wanted to do was become a game developer. So following high school, Tim began to work on some indie game projects, all the while continuing to upload comedy videos to the TimTom is Awesome channel through January of 2012. But after a while, Tim just wasn't really feeling his comedy content anymore and wanted to do something new for his YouTube videos. And throughout all this, things on YouTube were starting to shift. 2011 and 2012 marked the early rise of educational content on YouTube finding widespread success. Channels like Vsauce, CGP Grey, and Crash Course. These channels quickly caught Tim's attention and gave him a jolt of inspiration. So basically on a dime, Tim switched from comedy videos to educational videos with TimTom channel number 4. Jeez, I'm only like halfway through this stuff. And with his educational videos, Tim finally started to gain a bit of an audience. Whereas previous channels only ever gained between 20 and 40 subscribers max, Tim's educational content actually grew a modest viewer base of over 700 subscribers. But even still, this was mostly just a hobby, and Tim had greater ambitions. You see, in September of 2013, Tim decided to put himself out there and apply for a job working with one of his YouTube heroes, Hank Green, just to kind of see what would happen. And miraculously, Hank actually replied and made Tim a job offer, which he obviously accepted. In one fell swoop, Tim went from working a day job and making educational videos in his spare time to packing his things and moving to Montana to work for Hank freaking Green. Once there, Tim did a little bit of everything. He worked in the DFTBA warehouse, he did some graphics work for SciShow, but most notably, he began to work for Tana Mojo's favorite yearly event, VidCon, where he managed ticket sales and registration and even built the signing lottery. Tim worked for VidCon from late 2013 till early 2016. But after nearly 2.5 years, Tim felt it was time to move on to something else. You see, Tim hadn't really been making YouTube videos during his time at VidCon and wanted a bit of a fresh start. Plus, he never really stopped wanting to be a game developer. So naturally, he decided to mix his two interests together to form TimTom channel number 5, Tap Indie. Created on June 2nd, 2016, Tap Indie was Tim's attempt at making game design analysis videos similar to Mark Brown's Game Maker's Toolkit. And while Tap Indie did prove to be Tim's most successful channel so far, garnering nearly 1,000 subscribers, his interest in the channel began to fade a bit, for Tim was also getting back into stand-up and quickly realized that he had a lot more fun with that. So unfortunately, Tap Indie didn't really last very long, with Tim ending the show after only a few months to further pursue comedy. So once again, Tim was up YouTube Creek without a channel paddle. But some interesting things were going on YouTube as a whole around the same time. Throughout 2016, new YouTubers were suddenly popping up and finding great success in animation of all things, a genre long thought dead on YouTube. Channels like The Odd Ones Out and Jaden Animations were doing this cool thing where they mixed vlogging with animation, making for fresh and unique content. Tim was incredibly inspired by these channels and felt that this new kind of content was the perfect way for him to take his love of comedy to YouTube. So with that, Tim's mind was made up. He was going to become an animated storyteller, which was a pretty ambitious decision because Tim didn't know how to animate. So before he could just dive in head first, Tim had to teach himself how to make animated story videos, and there were some learning curves. I don't care. I don't care if I burp. But eventually, on August 24th, 2016, Tim was finally ready to kick off this new project, creating TimTom channel number 6, TimTom. Tim uploaded his very first animated story video on September 2nd, 2016, but it didn't really set the world on fire. It wasn't until Tim uploaded his third animation, Skipping School featuring The Odd Ones Out, that things started to pick up steam. This collaboration did pretty well at first, helping bring the TimTom channel to around 700 subscribers in about a week. But after that, things just went crazy. About a week after Tim's Skipping School video was uploaded, something within the YouTube algorithm just clicked, and suddenly TimTom's videos were getting pushed really hard in YouTube recommended feeds. Growth happened fast. He gained around 22,000 subscribers in just one day, making him the fastest growing channel in the world for a brief period of time. And by the end of that 1 week, Tim had smashed through 100,000 subscribers. And since then, Tim has just kept things going, uploading more and more animated story videos, becoming more involved in the animation community, and working to improve his content. And recently, on July 10th, 2018, after an entire decade of making YouTube videos in one form or another, TimTom managed to surpass 1 million subscribers. So at this point, as you might expect, the TimTom channel is no longer just a one-man effort. Over the last year, Tim has collaborated with several other animators to help produce a few of his animations, including YouTubers GingerPale, Tanimato, and Jaden Animations. But more recently, Tim hired YouTuber Illimations as a full-fledged animation assistant for his videos. Her first video with Tim was uploaded on June 17th, 2018, and ever since she joined the channel, videos have been coming out a lot more often, which can only mean good things. TimTom is one of those YouTubers who spent a long time trying to figure out what worked for him. He didn't luck into the perfect format right away, he spent years trying different things and building his skill set. Like many aspiring YouTubers, he would just throw everything at the wall to see what would stick. Sketch comedy, machinima, stand-up, vlogs, educational content, gaming content, the works. It took nearly a decade for Tim to find what worked best for him, but wow, was it worth the wait. It may have taken years, but when it stuck, it stuck. Tim started his animation channel in 2016 and went from 0 to 1 million in less than 2 years. And today, in 2018, he seems to only be ramping things up even further. YouTube is a big website with a seemingly endless number of different communities. Some people know where they fit in pretty much immediately, and others take a while to find where they can thrive, and Tim was kind of the latter. But if his recent success is any indication, I think it's safe to say that TimTom has finally found his home in the YouTube animation community. Thanks for watching, guys. DFTBA.
Thanks for watching, and thank you, writer, for taking the time to make this. A Brief History is a great series, and it's so cool to be a part of it. Also, for the record, the fedora was part of a joke, and I only ever wore it on stage. Usually. Anyway, I just uploaded a video about becoming a YouTuber on my channel that kind of goes behind the scenes of how all this happened, so make sure to check that out, and be kind to yourself. Or something, I don't know. Okay, bye!